Ryan, it was announced a few days ago that Probellum signed four-division world champion Donnie Nietes. Ryan, we talked about this a few episodes ago about Donnie Nietes' involvement with MTK Global, but now it seems that there's a change of heart. Now he's joining Probellum. Now he signed with MTK Global last year. I asked this question that if Donnie Nietes is in good hands with MTK Global, you seem confident about it. Now, do you think now that moving to signing with MTK Global, because he has been on the shelf for nearly 2 years, he came back earlier this year, but you think, was it a career move gone wrong for Nietes by joining or signing with MTK Global?
I don't think so, because at that time he needed to get back in the ring, and it's hard when you're talking about 115-pound fighters. Who is going to be the best fit, for a fighter where you don't have a lot of television support? You don't see a whole lot of 115-pounders headlining fights. So I think that it was really about, at that time, it seemed like the best deal for him. They had the deal with D4G Promotions, and the idea I felt was to just get him busy. Now, it didn't pan out the way it should have, because when you have a fighter like Nietes who's at that age and has a lot of ring rust, you want to see the guy fighting every 2 to 3 months, really, especially at that level of competition. So it didn't pan out the way it should have, but it's hard to look back and say, oh, that's not a great fit, wasn't a great deal, because the MTK had fighters at and around those weights that would have been good matchups for Nietes. And MTK had a relationship with different promoters, including Matchroom, which has a lot of the top 115-pound fighters.
Ryan, do you feel that Nietes at one point is the odd man out, as part of MTK Global? Because there's an impression that, MTK Global focuses or prioritizes fighters from Europe, particularly in the United Kingdom. What's your take on this?
Well, I think that, they are based in Europe, and they have a lot of relationships with the fighters there. But at the end of the day, it's about who gets what matchups make, the most sense. And I think for Nietes, the issue is that he's always been this high profile fighter, high risk, low reward. And it's like, okay, what do you do with the guy? You walk into a promotional, meeting with him, and you say, all right, what can we do? He's not really known stateside the way that, someone of his accomplishments should be. Really, it's like the hardcore boxing fans. Those are the people that would know him. And when you're playing to that crowd, that's really hard. That's not just about going out there and putting on a Kiss concert. These are people that want,
yeah, correct.
They are listening to, like, Rachmaninoff, so it's harder to move him. So I can't really put that on any promotional organization, because look at it. He's 39 years old. He's been pro forever. He's been a world champion since I've been in high school. So, so I think that you have to look at all of the work that was done before that. When you're talking about, a la promotions, the moves that they've tried to make to get him into bigger spots, they didn't work. I remember one time asking Michael Aldeguer, if Donnie Nietes goes to the mall, do people recognize him? He's like, not so much. And we're talking about in his own province. So I think that's when you're talking about mistakes, you got to go further back.
Ryan, Probellum is really aggressive, especially releasing their press releases like every other day. They keep on signing. They keep on forging partnership with different promoters in different regions. Now, do you think now that, it's no secret that Donnie Nietes is in the hunt for bigger names? And like we talked about a few weeks ago, he vacated the belt that he won on the New Year's Eve of 2018 because he wanted to pursue a big fight against a bigger name. Now, it seemed that it backfired on him. Now, do you think that being part of Probellum provides better opportunities for him, particularly that Probellum has it seems like they have a wider network now.
Yeah, I mean, like I think the other day they just announced the signing of Rocky Marciano, so I'm looking forward to seeing him back in the ring soon. No, the thing with when you talk about Nietes and signing, when you have a new promotional company, it's hard to tell off the bat because when he signed with MTK, I had high hopes. I was like, okay, I think that Nietes is going to be out there, and it's going to be a matter of time before he gets one of these fighters, and it didn't happen for whatever reason that was. Now, with Probellum, I think it's great that they're working aggressively. They have a lot of relationships with promoters. But what it really comes down to is how much is the promoter invested in your career, right? Mm-hmm. So he has Nonito Donaire. We're talking about Probellum. Regis Prograis. He got a couple fighters. And does he get moved to the back of the line? Are the people underneath Richard Schaefer, are they invested in getting him the biggest deals? That's what's going to come down to. I know that they just signed Mike Altamora, who is one of the best boxing minds in all of the sport. He's working things behind the scenes. So let's see how that goes because Mike Altamora is a real boxing guy, and if anyone can get Nietes opportunities and prioritize them, it'll probably be Mike Altamora.
Richard Schaefer, the man behind Probellum, is the type of guy, is the type of promoter who could work with other promotions. He's that versatile. Do you think he could be the instrument to giving Donnie Nietes the fights that he wanted? Because Donnie Nietes would like to fight Juan Francisco Estrada, Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, and the other names. Do you think, even Edmond Villamor gave his stamp of approval after the announcement that Donnie Nietes is joining Probellum? Do you think it's still doable at this point that now that Richard Schaefer is the one steering the career path for Donnie Nietes?
Well, when I talked to Richard Schaefer last week, he basically said, "Look what I did with Donaire. He lost to Jesse Magdaleno, and and at that point, that was a really low point of Donaire's career. He went out there, got him a couple wins, put him in the in the tournament. I forget what they call that tournament when he beat Ryan Burnett, and then he went on to make it all the way to the finals. Like." Amazing circumstances when you think about it, because someone gets injured, and then he knocks out Stephen Young, and and then it's like, oh, is this guy for real? Then he goes and fights, Naoya Inoue, and it was like an amazing fight, and it really resurrected his career. So yeah, he was basically saying, look what I did with Donaire. So why can't I do that with Nietes? I think they're different fighters, and I think that moving Nietes is a little bit tougher because he doesn't offer very much promotionally, right? He's not going to go out there and talk. He's not going to go out there to sell things. And his style is, it's something that you have to really appreciate boxing to really appreciate. So I fear that he's going to be sort of looked at as like the Orzabek Nazarov of this era, like the guy that, people who really follow the sport know is great, but, just didn't get those fights against the big guys.